Hello and welcome to Hijinks. My name is Regan and today we'll be playing a game of Flabbergasted. It's a fairly new tabletop game created by Fleur and Chelsea from the Wanderer's Tome, and we're playing it now to celebrate their Mystified expansion, which should be live right now, actually. If you want to go check that out, I highly recommend it. We're lucky enough to have a little bit of a sneak peek and get to play some of their new character archetypes as well. Playing today, we have
Ebony,
Cam, and I'm T.
Alrighty, let's jump straight into it. You, as representatives of your social club, the Minor Arcana, have been invited to a sunset soiree at Elizabeth Carmine's Manor. This is a very exclusive event, and it is a great mark to your dignity and prestige that you are welcomed into these circles.
A pleasure, I'm sure.
So we are going to step into events with you in the carriage on your way there. You are driving through Pecado Circle, which is the fanciest part of Picadillo, and you can see all of the art on the street corners, all of the statues that have been commissioned and put up in honour of the many, many rich people that exist in this place. There are manor houses, just a few, interspersed with lots of museums as well.
It's my favourite part of town. I don't live here, but I like it a lot.
I'm never over here. I am asleep.
Yeah, you're snoring.
Just in the carriage, asleep.
Old man snoring.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Haircut.
Almost. I get. Albert, wake up!
I'm just reading a book, I think.
We there?
Just sort of like studying some
I'm just
some dusty
like
time.
drooling at the window, like being like, oh my god, there's Lady Canterbury.
Oh, yes.
You know, I was at a party with her the other week, and oh my god, the things that she was saying, you know, that woman loves a drink.
What was she saying?
Well, I can't remember, it wasn't that important, but it was funny. It was definitely funny.
And now you get to say you were there.
And I was there as well.
Oh.
Which was the more important part.
Did she buy the wardrobe with the double doors, or was she the,
No, it was the side table, the hall
Oh,
table.
God, it's so haunted. She loved it. Delightful, really.
To your left, you can hear the faint sounds of Farrago Way, the kind of nightlife, cultural part of the city. To your right are more of the suburbs. And as you drive through, you see, this is my favourite part of lore from the book. There's just, in the centre of Pecado Circle, there is a statue of relatively unknown origin. You know the artist, but no one knows why she created it. And it's a very accurate statue of the moon with a rooster on top of it. And it is called the Cockataloon. Behind the statue is, of course, the Museum de Cockataloon in celebration of its existence and full of like fun facts and little souvenirs that you can pick up for your visits.
Keychain.
Little keychain of a rooster on the moon, which we all want.
Good.
And you approach the manor house, nice long driveway, beautifully lit and lined with trees. You can see other carriages arriving before you. You can see a couple of people milling about on the lawn in their, you know, Sunday best, except it's a Saturday night. It's a Saturday night best. And you pull up. A butler opens the door for you and you step out and you join the queue to enter. As we approach, I want you to think for a moment. You are about to be announced to the room full of people by Montgomery Buttsworth, the butler.
Oh, thank you, Montgomery. So nice to see you.
He looks at you and he's... Have you got your introduction ready?
Yes, of course.
And he holds out his hand.
We'll just call her the people's medium, the sumptuous Esme Lafour.
Medium for the people.
Medium for the people.
You want to be associated with the riffraff, the people?
Well, you know, she's very bohemian, so I think that's the air that the aristocrats like.
Yeah,
you know,
you are of the people.
I'm of the people, and then It's intriguing. It's a little bit scandalous.
Is it that
for the
double bluff?
aristocratic ladies?
Of like you are of the people, but then you're trying to appear like you're rich, performatively pretending to be of the people because that's trendy.
Very
right?
much that.
It's
yes.
it's like a double bluff.
Oh yeah, it's the circle, the snake. It's fully consumed.
This looks like a fashion act, but it is just you.
Yes, very much that.
I love that. I love that.
Cam.
I think Butty. What did I call you last time? Butters.
Buttsworth.
Butty. The usual Withington of Withington's phantasmagorical furnishings. Everyone is familiar, but if anyone would like a reading and a pairing, they know who to contact.
A pairing.
Very good, very good.
That's so good. Yes, this haunting will go nicely with this setting.
Precisely. In fact, I can feel I have something for you later. It's a beautiful eye and adventure. Anyway, I'll talk to you about it.
Oh, of course. Jude Hollis, Professor of Applied History at Haxford College.
Haxford College.
Haxford College.
Jude
Untenured.
Hollis.
Untenured.
What?
Nothing, never mind.
Very good, ma'am, sirs. Montgomery moves to the top of the stairs and goes, presenting the Minor Arcana, Esme Lefort, the sumptuous medium of the people. We have
Albert Withington.
Albert Withington of...
No, that's fine, Butters. We all do it. Withington's phantasmagorical furnishings.
Albert Withington of Withington's phantasmagorical furnishings, and Jude Hollis of the Haxford University. Please make your way into the party.
Thank you, Montgomery. Pleasure as always.
Montgomery turns to the people behind you and is like, Madame, sir, welcome. Presenting Lord James Buford, Secretary of the Croquet Club, and Dame Gertrude Culpepper, an older woman and a younger gentleman are standing behind you, arm in arm, and family. Their family, you know their family. Patron of the Peacock Theatre and matchmaker for Lord James Buford. James, like,
Oh, a bachelor.
aunt, must you?
And I'm like,
Just one of those very polite little laughs.
Oh, hello.
nice to see you again, James.
Gertrude immediately corners you. And is like, have you met my son, James?
Well, is James like a good-looking fellow, or does he
Absolutely.
look like a weasel?
No.
He's good-looking.
He's quite...
You know those aristocrats, sometimes they look like weasels.
It's true. So you make your way down into the party. You see a large hall, like decorated with candles and like beautiful
They sure
wall
are a lot of
hangings.
candles
and
in this large hall.
I'm doing my best tea.
You didn't deserve that.
You see there's a cocktail bar set up on one side of the room. There's wait staff walking around with platters of tiny foods. You see a few people...
Tiny food.
Tiny food is the best. You see a few people gathered on lounges and a few people standing up and milling about. Is there anything...
Is there anyone, like, who's the most popular person that I spot?
I'm so glad you asked. Over with a fairly decent sized group of people near the bar, you see, a blonde woman with perfect curls, and she says something and everyone laughs quite loudly. And as everyone's laughing at her, she takes a moment to look around and catches you all in her line of sight and just gives you a... And you know her quite well. This is Penelope Addison of the... Everyone writes down.
Oh, yeah. That eye roll is noteworthy.
It is. Penelope Addison. She is part of the Tarot Society, which you have had many run-ins with. Your club has had many run-ins with this society before in the past.
I just don't know why you would, limit yourself to such a small range of the...
I know. Tarot Society, more like Potato Gang.
Anyways.
I say loudly to the people walking past, just within earshot.
Oh, one of them is like, oh. And the others are like,
It's just very limiting when there's so much in the world of the esoterica that you could, dabble with, and I don't know why you'd limit yourself.
Restrict yourself to the Major Arcana, yeah.
Don't worry, Albert.
Would you like to grab a drink? Would you like to find some people to talk
social
to?
lubricant. Don't mind if I do.
I think
I'm
I'm beelining for the cocktail bar.
I'm
Yeah.
absolutely looking for someone to schmooze with.
Perfect.
Yeah, you and I are at opposite ends of comfort in this social setting.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm thriving.
like, if it weren't a very, very cool night, I would be sweating quite profusely.
So would you like to join Jude in grabbing a drink, or would you like to separate at this point?
No, I don't get my own drinks.
I will bring you a drink.
Thank you.
Are you going to leave Paul Withers on his own?
I think
He just dawdles around.
Yeah, I'll probably get a strong feeling about a chaise lounge or something and
Sit
wander
down for a
towards it.
nap.
Chase the chase, as it were.
I'm just picturing you sitting in the corner
That's
and like
definitely
stroking it and being
innuendo, I'm
like,
sorry.
oh, I feel that.
It's something like there's a pull from a corner of the room. It's kind of velvety. I'm getting some ancient. You know what? I'll just toddle behind. You're heading in that general direction. I'll toddle behind her.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of something. He gets a strong.
We have very different drives in
In this area.
yeah.
Like Withington probably makes strong eye contact with someone who might be very important, and then continues past them, looking for whatever.
Yeah.
it
The
is.
lounge.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The usual, Esme.
Yes, thank you, darling.
So as Jude goes to get drinks and comes back, and just as you are setting up near the lounge that Withers has become enamored with, Elizabeth Carmine comes over to you and is like,
Darling, it's so good to
lovely.
see you.
I'm so glad you could make it.
Thank you for having us. Absolute pleasure as always.
And it is a pleasure to have you. You know, I invited you specifically. I think tonight's entertainment is going to...
Oh, darling, so nice of you to think of us, isn't it,
Yes, thank you,
fellows?
Mum.
Oh,
Of course.
absolutely. You know we love a good party.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Absolutely. How's the furnishings? I know Withington set you up with some,
Yeah, yes, we did hear about this.
That he did. They've made quite a splash in the drawing room. That desk, the mahogany matches the bookshelf.
Well, it was the water
perfectly.
spirit, so that tracked. Yeah.
Oh, was
That. And I've always felt a kinship with water, of course.
of course, well,
Smart.
you have such a fluid way about you.
It was really prescient to install the drain in that marble flooring in there too. I know, right?
Revolutionary.
Yes, the water pooling under the desk hasn't been too much of an issue.
No,
That's good.
not
That's
at all.
Because I know that was a problem in storage.
No,
Yes, it was.
Withers was very careful to outline what would be happening, and so I just had some of my men install a little bit of a drain. So in front of you is Elizabeth Carmine. Betty will do, of course.
Of course. Betty,
She is-
darling.
Definitely, ma'am.
She prefers Betty.
I know.
She's, okay.
Definitely, ma'am.
Definitely, ma'am. She's very much a socialite.
Yeah.
She loves throwing these big lavish parties and making sure everyone's talking about, the latest entertainment she's found, the latest cocktail she's invented.
She wants to seem very down to earth. I'm very uncomfortable about the differences in our station. It's all coming from me.
Yes, good. And work has been going wonderful since then, I assume.
Oh, pairing those two pieces together for you gave me the strongest feeling that it would align a few things, and it just has worked out. I feel like your interruption with those I am so delighted that you brought those together, because it has put so many things in place.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I will be back when it's time to redecorate again.
I have some
Darling, we have to organize another seance. I know that it's, we did one last month, but you never know what kind of spirits are floating around the place.
True.
Kind of a bummer the last one, if I can be honest.
Hey, look, they can't all be cheery. What would be the fun in that?
It's true. And we'll absolutely hold a seance soon.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you know where to find me.
Of course. And she wanders off, and in her absence, Penelope walks over. It's like,
hello, Penny.
Darling. Wow.
hello, I'm so surprised you got an invitation.
Oh, you're here. Isn't that
didn't expect to
nice?
see you.
Really? Well,
We are-
Lady Carmine does, in fact, adore our company.
Oh, Betty.
Albert just redecorated her drawing room. So
Yes.
I did see that. What a disaster.
Quite a unique piece.
Actually, Betty is absolutely enamored with it, so don't be telling her that.
Betty will never say a bad thing about anyone. You know how lovely she is,
Well,
even when
not
it's deserved.
Anyways, nice seeing you.
We were just planning our next seance. She comes to all of our gatherings.
Oh,
Of
I'm sure she
It's a lot more
does.
interesting and exhilarating than, what is it you do?
Yes,
Cards?
when you run an arcane society of this caliber, you attract that kind of.
Oh, I don't know. Betty
Interest.
seemed quite intrigued by the tarot cards as well. I suspect she'll be joining our society by the end of tonight.
You can
We'll
see
see about that.
her mention.
Is that...
So you can see her mention of it not being a good pairing with us has gone from vacant and kind of dotting to just livid and
There's
focused.
just a like reassuring hand on your shoulder, just being like, it's okay.
kind of half holding him down?
Yeah, just a
Holding
little,
him
just a
back.
little hold him back.
As you
Got a
say,
good cop, bad cop thing going on.
as you say, we'll see about that. She turns to you and goes, "Darling, is that a challenge?"
A challenge? Maybe it is.
Oh,
Absolutely.
challenge accepted then.
Well, we'll see what the best of your, card tricks and close-up magic can do,
Oh, I'm not too worried. I don't need the cards to know you're all fools anyway. And Penelope gives you a little wink. Best of luck. And walks up and goes, "Oh, Betty, I just wanted to chat to you about something. Do you have a moment?" And they begin having a conversation.
As she walks away, I'm just gonna within, obviously trying to be below volume, but clearly still audible, be like, "Oh, we know she hates it when you call her Betty."
Well,
Just for Penny to hear, and then
Yep.
see if
See what happens.
just seed some doubt.
I have the most deeply cursed, dark-ish amulet for that lady. I just wish I could
Maybe
gift it.
slip it into her bag at some point.
I mean, if that's the sort of thing you need, I have a few things from the last dig site that I have yet to even touch that seem like they could, 7 of my best fell sick carrying the damn things home, so we could just slip them in some pockets and see what sort of ironic curses they bestow upon their victims.
We'll do
Yes.
a appraisal later. Right. How do we crush this spineless little lady? I mean, what?
Lucas has a dark side.
With it.
She insulted my furniture?
Are there any of Betty's, close circle around?
Betty is very careful to try to treat everyone fairly equally at these sorts of parties. When you look around, you see there's kind of a few little groups forming. There's, the gentlemen all sipping their whiskies by the bar, and they are, I guess, talking about gentlemanly things. There's a few kind of academic / I guess explorer types is the best way to describe it. They're the ones by the lounges. So they're the people who are interested in the mysteries of the world and kind of going exotic places and and discussing that. The traveling type. And you've also got kind of the older crowd also sitting down on a different set of chairs and kind of talking about the latest things in the news and,
Old people stuff.
Oh, have you seen the new invention from Addison? What a fool. And
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I think I'm partially here because my head of faculty, moves in these circles.
Yep.
And,
You're trying to make a good
sort of-
impression.
Well, didn't so much as strong arm me into coming along, so much as I'm like trying to get funding for another expedition, and it's important to sort of do the whole schmoozing thing, which I'm terrible at.
Yep.
But it's
What's the head of faculty's name?
Thaddeus Match,
Right.
Out of nowhere.
head of history, anthropology, and studies of the past.
So Thaddeus Match is over with the exploring
Sort of keeping
types.
court with all of the academics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're discussing, the latest paper that was released on the differences between the hieroglyphs and the written language and how that,
Yeah.
how those translations.
That's definitely
Something dry.
That's definitely of them where I'd be most comfortable, I think.
Perfect.
Is there like just a sort of grouping of ladies,
Yeah.
society types?
You
I probably know them. I would
Yeah.
say.
You would
Yeah.
have all probably crossed paths at least once or twice before at other similar events. So there's a grouping of young women which Dame Gertrude has also inserted herself into and is extolling the virtues of her nephew James, who is nowhere to be seen.
Oh, poor James. I think I'm probably really just going around and just to I'm just flitting from group to group. I'm just
Yep.
constantly on the move,
Yep.
drink in hand, just
Getting your steps in.
life of the party, you
Yep.
know, making appearance here, saying, "Oh, hello, darling," over there, and
Yep.
and just talking up my seances and being like, "Oh, well, you must come to the next one." La da 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 da.
Yep, perfect. So when you head over to the young women, Gertrude is like, darling, I saw you
Dame
looking at my dear
Gertrude."
James earlier. Are you single?
A lady never tells, Dame Gertrude. But yes, I am.
Oh, yeah. Marvelous, marvelous.
Are they wealthy?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
And approximately how many children do you think you plan on having? How
Children,
many siblings do you have?
The Lord provides. I'm not one to decide on what. I'm so sorry. I've just been called over. I'll be right there.
She is a little bit miffed. She doesn't seem to realize that she's being a weirdo at this party and asking way too many invasive questions.
Yeah.
And she thinks you have insulted her.
Oh no. Well,
Wonderful.
that's all right, I suppose.
And you make your way over to...
Yeah, I think I've been sort of standing awkwardly by the canapes for a good 5 or 10 minutes, just kind of looking for something to engage with, and then just sort of sigh and finish the last of my drink and just wander over to the academics and be like,
Yep.
all right, fine, let's do this. Ugh.
What do they think of your dabble in the occult and the esoteric?
I think I'm definitely on the outskirts of they're very archaeological and quite rigidly grounded in reality. They're not really willing to entertain the idea of any sort of more fanciful theories about the discoveries. That,
So they think
we
you're
discussed.
crazy.
They think I'm a bit of a crackpot. Yeah.
Just as you arrive with the academics and the research types,
I think it's a bunch of people with just the long kind of safari, the big balloon safari pants, and I reckon Thaddeus has got a smoking jacket or something, and just sort of
couple of
has
pipes in the
a
room.
bunch of them around him just chatting boisterously about.
They're all inspecting, a few bits of paper on the table and
Oh yeah, there's a tape with a map or a sort of tracing of a tablet or something.
Yep. And they're all
Nice.
trying to decipher it. And just as you get there, you hear a couple of people kind of muttering, "Oh, I'm surprised Donald and Doris aren't here. They're normally quite on time." And just as someone says that, you hear Montgomery Buttsworth stand up. Presenting Doris and Donald Jefferson, expert and curators of the Museum de Cocktaloon.
Oh, dear.
They come in and Donald ducks by the bar to get a drink for he and Doris, but Doris makes her way straight over to the group that you're in.
I'm gonna walk over to the table, and just to sort of find an open spot and like look at what we're all looking at. And
Thaddeus goes, "Oh, Jude, so glad you could make it. Look at you being out on the town and not in your office."
Well, you did twist my arm quite literally, Dr. Match, so...
It's true.
Yes.
It's true. It is a requirement of the role that you attend social events.
You made that abundantly clear, and here I am.
Very good. Everyone, have you met Jude Hollis? He's an up-and-coming little brain on the team.
Yeah, hello everyone. Lovely to meet you all.
A lot of people are going, "Oh, hey.
I probably recognize a few of them from like conferences and like lectures and things.
Yeah. You might have collaborated with
So
one or
shake
two.
hands with some new people.
Yep.
So what are we looking over today?
Well, we've got a tracing of a tablet. And some of these hieroglyphs obviously match up with the ones that we already have translated. No, but some of them are.
Is this from the Scanlan expedition?
Absolutely.
I did hear about this.
We are so
yes.
lucky to have it here. And we thought, well, why, now that we're all here and all these brains in the one place, might as well take advantage of it.
Yes, absolutely. I was very interested to read their paper. Scanlan and Zevlov refused to entertain the idea that the ancient civilization had the concept of sacred geometries. But I think, if you were to look a little deeper at some of the trace work here, you can see that there's a sort of regularization of the pattern work.
Right? And that's what...
And I want to use I read that in a book to kind of like make a good impression here.
Yeah. It's working. That's what Esmeralda was saying. So she's very much in the same camp as you. She thinks sacred geometry is a tenet of many of the ancient civilizations. But, Alfonso is a firm believer in coincidences and how sometimes things just look good. Isn't that right, Alfonso? And everyone's like... And Alfonso's like, "Oh, you can't attribute meaning to everything you see." And Esmeralda's like, "Oh, but when it's repeated in such a,
Even when it didn't mean anything, it always happened for a reason.
Esmeralda's like, "See? Thank you."
There are lots of things that lots of civilizations over thousands of years felt no need at all to write down because they were just common knowledge.
Right? Salt, pepper, and what? What was the third thing on the table? And just saying,
Those are the great mysteries.
"Thank you." And Doris arrives and she's like, "I have been lucky enough to finally get a piece of sapphire from the Sapphire Empire in Madagascar." And she puts her thing on the table and everyone, the party splits up and there's another mystery on the table for everyone to kind of focus in on. Doris has her own, "This is what I am very excited about."
I look over at it and I just lean into Thaddeus and I just go, "I think that's blue quartz."
Well, don't tell her.
Oh, no. Let them have the fun.
Yeah. And so then academic
Not
talk
doing any harm.
carries on.
Yeah.
Just hasn't changed. As a recovering academic, that was too real.
Oh yeah, this was your life.
So,
was
sorry.
great.
Perfect.
Did you say Esmeralda was here?
So when you said obviously sacred geometry, Esmeralda was like, "See?"
Yeah.
See? So you've already gotten in.
Huge crush on Esme, like 100%.
Perfect.
Like
You have already made a good impression on
Not
Esme.
on Esme, that's me.
Awkward. You've already made a good impression on Esmeralda. If that's something you want to pursue.
yes, but no, obviously.
Yeah. Is Betty around?
Mhm.
Yeah, she's just flouncing.
Yeah.
Who's she talking to?
She is... Gertrude has cornered her right now.
Oh, good. Does she look uncomfortable?
No, Betty
Never looks uncomfortable.
never looks uncomfortable. She's like laughing and having a lovely chat.
And if you were to look deeper,
Absolutely. No one is pleased to see Gertrude tonight.
oh no.
I'm going to head back over to Gertrude and Betty and be like, "Oh, my darlings. Oh, I'm so sorry I had to run away. Gertrude just saw someone that I hadn't seen so long and I just didn't want to lose them." But through this kind of interaction, I would like to use Muse, which is one of my
Ooh, tell me more.
cues,
Yep.
which is there's an alluring quality about you that draws people in and keeps them entranced. If you play into this, you can charm just about anyone who shows an interest. Be warned, they're likely to become hopelessly enamored by you. +1 scandal. But I would basically like to be just like making Betty think I'm just the most fabulous and interesting person in the room.
Very good. So when you have plus, because you started with a couple of dignity, so you would be down to one dignity. For those following at home, there is a scale from scandalous to dignified that you play with, and this is your reputation, essentially. Usually you'd start on 0, but because this is a one-shot, I made my lovely performers start with a couple of points in either direction, and some of the
Scene cues
that you use either give you more dignity or scandal, and as you know, your number increases in either direction, things start to happen.
It's important to remember that.
And I think in the energy of it being a little bit scandalous, you know, I'm definitely kind of flirting with Betty, but in the way that socialite ladies do. But also in the way of like, they're just good friends, right?
Very
good friends, right? But Esme doesn't mind that being a projection of her in society. It just adds to the allure. It's just an extra bit of flavor for everyone to talk
you come
about
over
her.
and you're like, oh,
And I'm like, oh, like, you know.
And she responds positively to the touch. She's like, oh, it's so welcome to the conversation. Gertrude was just telling me about James. And
Oh, sweet darling James. Yes.
Yep. And Gertrude watches your interaction. She's like, oh, you're such good friends.
Betty and I go way back, don't we, darling?
Yep.
Gosh, when did we first meet? And we're just like,
oh, it was years ago in the university days, and you reminisce, and you.
Yeah. So I'm really like, turning on the schmooze.
Yeah.
And I go, you know, oh, Gertrude, have you been to any of our seances? Oh, they're such fun. I don't know if you've at all dabbled in the spiritualism kind of aspect of society these days, but it really is a blast.
The new things that young people are in today. Oh, it gets more and more ridiculous,
really,
doesn't
darling,
it?
You should just take a little step outside of your comfort zone. You know, I know your husband died a couple of years ago. We could probably try and get him on the line, see if he has anything to say.
Oh, rest in peace, but he's better rested.
That is what they say.
Spicy. So as you and Betty start to reminisce more and talk about more of the occult, Gertrude does start to lose interest and move away. So you and Betty are like, oh yes, seances. Fantastic.
Did you hear about what XYZ? I'll like say someone else another person in our community, in our society, and just like talk up our social club a little bit and be like, oh my gosh, you won't believe what, you know, Cornelius managed to do the other day. He conjured a whole face of a spirit floating right above his head. It wasn't just
smoke, it was clear.
It was absolutely incredible. You know, I could not believe my eyes.
I don't even think Miss Teak has managed to summon a face.
No,
and
it was
she
truly
is the
incredible.
best of the best.
I know. I love going to show-ins. They're so fantastic.
Gertrude.
Just mumbling like, my nephew can't marry a ghost. What's the point of this?
Yes, perfect.
Is Mystique in a social club?
No. No, she's not.
She's a solo artist.
She was the OG.
She brought spiritualism into
she was spiritual before it was cool.
Yeah.
Cam, we haven't...
I think Withers is incredibly culturally aware. Like, he can see the way that people are moving around the room and who might be, but he's not particularly bright. So he's going to look for help in unknown places.
I love it.
There is a little cue that I have, which is extraordinary help, which means you have a network of a strange array of characters. They're willing to help you out when you need it, and their eccentric interests mean they can source just about anything. Which is +1 scandal or plus scandal.
Yep.
I feel like that's very flavorful because, you know, we both have clear like niches in this like society, and I don't know that you've necessarily found yours. And so the idea that you have this,
because you're an ex-socialite, right?
Yeah. You have this network that is just like hooking you up with just an in to any conversation right now.
Well, he's the forgotten sixth son of a dynasty of people and has had to find his own way and is I think he's going to go back up to Monty or Butters and kind of sidle over, not quite sure, and go, so Butters, my boy, I've been thinking
Buttsworth.
but of course, Monty Buttsworth, one of my
Montgomery Buttsworth.
Yep, that's what I said.
I like that you're the same age, and this is the level of interaction.
I really want to impress our host this evening because she's done so well by us, and of course by you as well.
Very good, sir.
And I wondered if you might know, is she a part of a club at the moment? And I've heard rumors that she isn't, and why not?
Are you asking me to gossip about my employer?
No, of course not. I am asking you to help me make a good impression, because I would like to reward her patronage recently. Absolutely delightful. I could not find a better match of different furniture and people.
Very true, sir.
But
How does Buttsworth feel about the weeping
dripping
desk?
the weeping desk.
He would never say out loud.
Yeah, of course.
But he takes it in his stride with the long-suffering, very good man.
You can see he's got waterproof shoes on.
Yep.
and I
Just
think,
a little bit of extra tar around there. So you've used a scene cue to prompt this interaction?
yes, I'm trying to scan Butter's interaction, Butter's reaction to his superior, and see if there's some way I can jog him to give me a person or a thing that may influence Betty at the moment, that may for either why she's not in a club or her inclinations to get.
Fantastic. So because you've used a scene cue, I won't make you roll for this. But it's like, well, you are correct. She is not currently in a social club. She spends too much time moving between circles and connecting with all people in the city to focus on any one club.
Has there been anybody, in her private moments, is there a way that she leans upon, not those private moments?
Definitely not snooping. Definitely not snooping.
Super cash.
Super cash. Is there a group that she talks to for solace or to help her find her way amongst all of these? She must be so busy, Maybe a hobby.
I feel it's not gossip to say something that can be seen in public. She is quite close with her cousin, Florence Wheatley, and also her good friend, Penelope Addison.
Boo. Boo, Penelope Addison.
Right? The worst.
Absolutely fantastic. I'll scan him and see if there's anything that triggers as a thing that he may want in future, and then wander off.
Dry socks.
Oh yeah.
Oh, poor Montgomery.
You should get him some waterproofed clogs.
Not really
Cursed, of course.
Minor. I mean, they bring visions. It's fine. I think I'll just delightful as you were, and spin around and look for Florence.
Very good, sir. You see Florence in the group that is enjoying a brief reprieve from Gertrude. As you move away from Montgomery, you see another person, another late arrival, which is honestly quite frowned upon in these circles.
Oh yeah, it's like an hour in now. It's like
at least 45 minutes.
Oh.
Someone who's wearing a nice long velvet dress, 3 million beads in a veil, walks up to Montgomery and they start having a conversation as you move away to find Florence. What you do with that is up to you.
I mean, I've got hawk eyes.
Yeah.
For anyone.
Okay.
I'm just constantly
Sure.
scanning the crowd.
So while you're scanning, you also see this woman arrive and start talking to...
I recognize her.
No.
Well, I'm talking to Betty and I go, "Oh, Betty, darling. Who's that? A little bit late to the party, aren't they?"
She looks over and she's like, I'm actually not too sure. Go find out.
An uninvited guest, perhaps.
So sorry. It's been lovely talking to
Absolutely.
you.
Let us catch up so soon,
course.
darling.
Yes,
Maybe we'll go
please.
out for tea or something.
Let's.
Oh, fantastic.
I'll send you a note.
Oh, beautiful.
And she goes over to the door and joins the conversation with the butler. And they step just outside the front door, so it's private.
I think at the risk of sort of outing themselves, not that they would know that that's what they're doing, like Jude is going to just sort of in conversation about the papers in front of them.
Are you talking to Esmeralda or the group at large?
I mean, Esmeralda and whatever members of the group seem more receptive to the idea of more alternative theories about this archaeological find, and just kind of say, if that sort of if those sorts of theories interest you, I find it's always very useful to keep an open mind and explore sort of alternative avenues for information. I'm a big believer in the scientific method, of course, but where science fails, it's important to try and take in other information, as it were. And so I'm actually part of a club. I don't know if you've heard of them. The Minor Arcana. And it's a little bit outside of the norm for people of our profession, but I can find it to be quite illuminating at times. And perhaps you should come along and see if it expands the
Expands the mind.
horizons, yes, and opens the door to new and revelationary theories.
A couple of the gentlemen sipping whiskey on the couch, the older gentlemen are like, hogwash.
Yeah, I think Thaddeus is very
research and peer-reviewed documents are the way forward. But some of the younger people, Esmeralda included, are like, Esmeralda in particular is like, absolutely, like I find theological texts and religious practices that tell us so much about a culture, and the occult is simply another manifestation of that sort of way of engaging with the world. And
indeed. Yep. Well, I'm sure that we will be putting on some sort of maybe we'll hold a little séance tonight or something. We'll see what happens. We might do a little private encounter in sort of one of the drawing rooms later on.
That's you.
Not like that. No. I mean, it's just not in front of. It's
completely.
a bit rude to hold séance in the middle of the ballroom. Anyway,
with that, everyone thinks you are a little bit more scandalous than they originally thought.
Did not mean to do that.
Whoops.
Back up.
But you know what? Esmeralda is not. She was a little bit like, oh, so forward, but not like, oh, how
She didn't hate it. She didn't hate it.
Yeah, she didn't hate it.
I've immediately clarified very awkwardly
Yep.
too, just to make that. I don't know.
Thaddeus claps you on the shoulder and is like, did it again, buddy.
Thank you, Doctor.
Probably sworn over to Jude's tape area.
I think this is a genuine attempt to recruit as well, with the promise that there would be some sort of demonstration of what is involved, right?
Esmeralda was like, it'd be fascinating to see how a seance draws on, the cultural norms of a time. And
I think if we can put on a good show tonight, that's something that will win people more to our side than pennies, as
impromptu
it were.
seance.
I swan over and I go, Jude, darling, how are you going? Hello, everybody. Nice to see you again.
Talking shop as usual.
Lovely.
Isn't that a nice bit of blue quartz there?
Doris is like, no, it is a pure specimen. In Madagascar, they have the finest sapphires of anywhere in the world. There are theories that there's an ancient empire that mined these, and it was part of their culture, and that, it was very much like El Dorado, but sapphires.
Those dig sites are quite heavily regulated, of course, and any finds that precious gems or otherwise are in the National Museum of Madagascar.
Oh, absolutely. But it's amazing having, working with Donald at the museum. We have ins with these groups of people, and
I just feel like there's people around the group that go.
A couple of people, and Donald takes this moment to be like, "Oh yes, absolutely. Actually, I've made a new discovery about the cockatoo," and everyone kind of goes, "Oh, not again." He brings this up at every opportunity. And
tell us what magical revelation hends the tides.
Well, I think I've narrowed it down to 5 families. It's highly likely that the person who commissioned the statue is in one of these 5 families.
Yes, one of the 5 founding noble families of Piccadilly.
Yeah, mostly, yes.
Yes. I'm shocked.
Shocked and surprised.
Yeah.
And he tries to segue the conversation onto that.
I think that's very, like, because nobody's really interested in that. I think we'll let that happen.
We'll
And
just
then
let that.
can...
Yeah.
He'll-
And I go, now what were you two lovely folk talking about? And I turn to Esmeralda and
Yes.
Oh, we were just discussing like a private.
Well, yes, I had
private Matt?
We were discussing the sort of alternative theories about the geometries of this carving, tracing, I should say, of the
lovely.
tablets from the
Whether
last
it's
expedition.
cultural or religious or.
And I had floated the possibility of Esmeralda and whoever of my academic company wishes, perhaps coming along to a meeting of the Minor Arcana to, expand their horizons.
Seance, darling. It's so fun. You'll love it. I promise you'll have
As an academic
absolute
exercise,
blast.
of course, you understand.
Oh, of course. I'm fascinated how all of these practices feed into
I had suggested
creating knowledge.
possibly we hold one later tonight, depending on how the night goes.
Of course, the first time you speak to an ancient emperor speaking through you, it really is just fantastic.
That does seem to happen to you specifically a lot.
Well, I can't say that I have a certain connection with any one type of spirit or another, but yes, oftentimes the ancient emperor of the Chalcedonian Empire does happen to come rapping on my mind's door.
You have a strong connection with one.
Yes, they're on a first-name basis,
Yes, yeah.
apparently.
Fascinating.
Harold.
That's so fascinating. You and Harold.
Yes.
You must tell me more.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you'll have to come along and maybe I can introduce you.
Oh, I'd love to meet Harold.
Well, you read
of the
Johnson's paper on the Chalcedonian Imperium, right? So,
Obviously.
yes.
And we'll actually cut to Cam and Withers, and you walk up to a group of young women,
Oh no.
Oh, no.
and they are talking about, the picnic that they had in the park last weekend, and how there were so many fantastic birds and swans on the lake. It's lovely to see that the swans have returned from migration and chat.
I think Withers kind of like,
A couple of them catch you attempting to enter, and they look at each other, and they're like, and it's and the ducklings should be hatching soon. Sir, Mr.
Albert Withington. And can
Albert Withington.
try and gauge
Lovely.
what might be the best etiquettely appropriate way to
Approach
chat to
a young group of women.
Leave.
this group?
Correct.
In reverse.
It would be quite the social faux pas to kind of just like aggressively insert yourself in and change the topic. It would be more smooth to, fun facts about ducks at this point, because that appears to be the topic. But even so, you joining this conversation is odd and will be seen as odd by everyone who happens to glance this way.
Would I perhaps know who Florence's elder family might be?
Absolutely. Florence Wheatley is the daughter of Warren Wheatley.
So I might kind of go, sorry for the intrusion, ladies, please. I wanted to ask Florence a question about Warren. I've just had a strong feeling about something related that might be the perfect pair for his new Seychelles needs, but I need to get a bit more of an understanding of some background so that I can pair it with Florence. Could I have
This is like
a word?
direct TV marketing mixed with the does anyone in the room know I'm getting a
Michael.
a Gary. Has anyone recently lost a Gary and is in need of a large 8-person dining set?
That is exactly how.
Sort of, yeah.
There is a scene clue that I can use at some point, which is speaking in tongues.
Oh, wonderful.
It's happening.
Oh, no.
And there is another one, which is psychic, which is the ability to cold read or psychically intuit something about someone.
Florence looks around at all of her friends and is like, it seems I'm off to have a conversation about my father.
So sorry.
Delightful.
Everyone's like, have fun. One scandal.
One scandal, of course. Not a problem.
I'm here to ruin your life.
What's 5
Not
scandal?
scandal, but just disdain.
5 scandal.
Oh my god. You've crossed into...
You've crossed the threshold. From 1 to 4, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
From 5 to 8, I believe, or 5 to 9, I think, people start to treat you differently.
Oh, no.
People now know that you are a little bit scandalous.
A little bit scandalous.
Which I think you were naturally heading there anyway.
Look.
That interaction definitely sealed the deal.
Yeah.
The old man taking the young lady aside to ask her about her father. It's
fine.
Very normal.
Because furniture. Yeah. You have Florence alone.
I don't mean to be rude, darling, but I've had this strangest feeling that, and he's like trying to piece together how he can find out how to influence Betty and go with the pretext that he is.
Now I don't know how much of your psychic powers is just social engineering, right?
Right.
I do have high culture and etiquette and very low wit.
Oh no.
At your announcement of having strange feelings, she takes a small step back.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, no, like that. I mean, probably what everyone overheard for the scandal too.
There it is.
Yeah, that was it.
The rumor is going.
So here's the thing. There's some future boon to you and your family if what your father is interested in purchasing happens to go to another young, powerful, influential lady. I think it might be our host. I don't know how to navigate that. So I wanted to know, do you know what kind of furniture Bethany might like? Because I'm not sure this chaise lounge might be the right pairing.
See, fascinating.
What a long walk for such a mundane question.
So let me clarify. You have a feeling that my father will make a furniture purchase and gift it to
A premonition.
Betty.
Yeah, so something bad about that furniture going that way. So if we get it directly...
He should not gift it to Betty.
No, it should go directly to Betty. But your father is already very interested in that chaise lounge.
Oh.
Delicate matter.
I see. I should convince my father not to purchase the chaise lounge?
Well, if we could convince Betty...
To buy the chaise lounge.
Well, at least of whether or not she's connected to it. Perhaps then your father may understand, because she has such a strong, deep-seated future relationship with the lounge.
Does your family have a history of a relationship with supernatural
lounges.
pestilence? Because this chaise...
Please roll either culture and etiquette for the social element or bravado and persuasion. Your choice. Dealer's choice.
I will try to... There's probably a better way of culturally...
Handling this conversation.
Yeah, of navigating the etiquette.
It is a matter of etiquette. Really.
It is. I'm going to say you'll need 2 successes because it is weird.
It's
not an easy sell, this particular.
Hey, if someone came up to me at a party, just an old guy, and was like, yo, what furniture do your parents buy? And do you like the way their psyches are currently stable? I'd be like,
I need to leave.
So 5s and 6s are successes.
0 6.
All
0.
3s and 4s.
Rip. That's rough.
A fascinating dilemma to be faced with. I don't know about Betty's furniture preferences. I'm afraid. So sorry, sir, Mr. Withers. I'm being called. Please have a lovely evening. And she.
Yeah,
that's my move.
It's Withington. Withers is the nickname. Withington is the.
She
nailed it.
Is walking as fast as is proper without running.
I think
like briskly walks away and then like not even hiding it 5 meters away, just slows down again and normally
Yep.
walks off.
And casually returns to her group, who all immediately turn and look at you.
I think Willie did like clocks it, looks around for like social haven.
I think we just look at you
Heads
and it's
to-
just like,
You are saved from having to make that decision by Betty standing at the top of the stairs where Montgomery Buttsworth typically would. It's her turn to make an announcement, and she claps her hands gently but loud enough for everyone to turn and look her way. Guests, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It has been lovely to catch up with all of you. It is the time that I know you have all been waiting for. As always, I have found some entertainment that I hope will amaze and surprise all of you. Please,
Polite applause.
polite applause. A couple of people, you hear a couple of people be like, do you know what it is? No, I don't know, but it's always the best of the best. And she continues.
I look to Thaddeus for some sort of cue of like, what is this normal? Does this normally happen at these?
Yes, every time.
Yeah.
She always has some kind of surprise entertainment.
I lean
at
over.
these.
I lean over.
I'm just fully following his
Yep,
lead,
yep,
I
yep,
think.
yep.
I lean over to Jude once. I say, it was an elephant once. Fantastic.
God.
They still haven't filled in the hole in the lawn from where the feet were. And
Don't know
she
how I feel about
gestures,
that.
please make your way down the hall. Our butler, Montgomery, will lead you into the next room. And so the crowd starts whispering and heading that way.
Approximately how many people are here?
Let's say there are 43 people here.
And as we're walking, are we sort of all in a bit of a crowd now? It's a bit sort of, it's a bit less obvious, like
Who's standing with who?
Who's standing? Excellent,
Yes.
excellent. Do I see Penny
Sure, Penny is
sort of wandering in
like
the crowd as well?
three people in front of you.
Does like Penny obviously has a tarot deck on them somewhere?
Obviously.
Yes. I would like to try and I have a scene cue, which is the wait and switch, which is you've mastered the art of subtly pickpocketing an item or two from someone's pockets. You'll simply place something of similar size in its stead. Easy. I would like to swap out some of the tarot cards and just stack the deck with death cards, just to make sure that any tarot reading she does later is a complete disaster.
Okay.
Because I don't think I'd have an identical deck of cards.
Yep.
I'm just trying to like
Sure.
slip a few there.
I'd say you don't yet know what deck she has on her. She has a handbag, a nice long strap handbag.
Yeah, I think in that case,
shoulder.
I'm probably just trying to slip a few extra in there.
Okay. So you shuffle up.
I'm
through
probably
the
as
crowd
we're
and-
shuffling through, the academics, I just pretend to be making sort of boisterous sort of argument with one of the other academics.
Yep.
Yes, but like I know Jones's paper was sort of very insistent on the understanding that the ancient Microzorians had a sort of understanding of astrology that was very similar to ours, but I think actually they really sort of came around early to the idea of the cosmos as a three-dimensional space, and that very much informed the way that they used
But it's
the stars.
preposterous that they came to that conclusion that early on. Like, it would have taken at least another decade.
Well, I mean, I think that's the trapping of academia today, is to assume that nobody could have figured it out faster than we did, and that's just patently false.
But there is clear evidence in their society.
As we get more boisterous, because I'm just picking somebody I
Yep.
know is going to disagree with me.
Yep, okay.
So like it's just riling them up, so it turns into a bit of an argument, and then like
Yep.
as I gesticulate, just kind of bump into Penny a little,
Okay.
And make the drop.
And she's like, "Oh, please mind your space. Please mind my space.
Please forgive me. My colleague and I were having a robust and intellectual debate.
I'm sure it was scintillating." And she goes back to her
Well,
conversation.
I mean, I would explain, but
No need. I don't need to hear it, and neither does anyone else. Goes back to her conversation.
Savage.
okay.
You enter the next room as everyone, you're about halfway back through the crowd, let's say, and as the people at the front enter, they go quiet, and the quiet seems to ripple through the crowd. as everyone enters a much darker space. There are velvet drapes across the ceiling and down the walls, and enough incense in the air to create kind of a smoke machine. But yes, a couple of people do start coughing. It's very thematic and aesthetic, not very practical. There's a circle of candles set up in the center of the room, and people start gathering around there, and you peer through some shoulders to get a good view. And in the center of the circle is the woman who both Montgomery and Betty needed to step outside to talk to earlier. She's in the center of the circle on a stool. In front of her is a small table with a large crystal ball and shawls and like sage and bits,
all sorts of whatnot.
The trappings
of the occult,
of an occult encounter,
working,
yes.
is in front of her. And as people take their place, she looks up quite dramatically around at everyone. Is like, thank you for gathering with me today. We will be taking a quiet moment to peer through the veil that separates this world and the next. We will look to summon a spirit. We will look to talk with them, learn about them, and experience more than the mundane lives that you exist within. We will experience a greater moment. And she continues on.
I'm like, taking note. I'm like, oh, I like that. No, I'd do that better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just one performer to another.
Yeah.
She starts gesturing around the crystal ball and like pulsing her arms, and then her whole body goes rigid and kind of spasms, and her head kicks back, so rolls her eyes back for a moment and like takes in a big gasping like and then her eyes lock forwards, and as she like comes forward, her eyes lock on you, and she holds out a hand and beckons.
Well, there you go.
I'm
Can't
thrilled.
refuse an invitation like that. Can you?
I like elegantly step over through the candles. And
I look for Penny's reaction when that happens.
Penny, upon seeing you beckon, like scoffs, rolls her eyes, and like mutters something to the person next to her.
It's a quiet.
I flash Betty a just a
smile.
dazzling smile.
She's like,
And I give my hand to
takes
the
hand.
lady.
Where am I? Where am I?
It's all the incense, you see.
You are safe. You're in the home of the venerable Lady Elizabeth Carmine, Betty. How might we address you?
Me? My name is Charles. Charles.
Charles.
Older. Charles Older.
Charles
Charles.
Older.
You know me, of course.
Charles Alder of the of the Peccadillo Alders?
Older right moves.
Yes. Yes. Would you like to do me a... This would be culture, actually, because it's the high society.
Mhm.
It's knowing something about the high society in Peccadillo.
2 successes.
Damn. You are quite well versed in the...
In all of the
get good care.
in all of
4
the
dice.
Yes.
all of the families,
all the family
everyone who
lines.
you need to know.
Older is actually the older version of the Addison family. So this would be an ancestor of Penelope Addison.
Oh. And I go, where is she? Penelope. Do you have an ancestor in your family by the name of Charles Alder?
She takes a moment to look around the room. She's like, yes. Yes, I do.
Well, I believe we have him here. I'm really kind of taking... I know, like,
You're taking over.
Obviously, there is someone else conducting the seance, but...
Yeah, you would never steal Elizabeth's thunder.
Oh, no,
But, like-
it's frowned upon to steal a seance. That's...
Yeah, but, like, obviously there is someone else here, but I'm the one that is apparently talking to this spirit, so I'm
Yep.
really just
Taking
it in hand.
Yep.
Do I might even use a scene cue here.
If you like.
I have a passionate display, which is an artistic skill that I'm very proficient in, conducting seances. You give a passionate display every time you perform. All eyes are on you.
Perfect.
And that's +1 dignity.
Yeah, it is.
actually.
Oh, nice.
Save us.
Yeah.
I'm too far gone. Save yourselves.
I'm glad one of us
Yeah.
is getting dignified.
So then I go, Charles, do you have anything to tell us?
Oh, well, I assume I have been summoned from the other side to discuss my life's work.
Your life's work?
Yes, surely, all of you. You all know of my work mapping the moon.
Of course.
Of course.
course.
Yes.
I was the
I'm,
first
yeah.
to gaze to the skies with a telescope of my own creation
Well,
and map the details of the moon. There's a statue in my honor.
Yes. Yes. I'm sure your family has done you a great honor by continuing on your legacy. Isn't that right, Penelope? Shouldn't we all have known that it was Charles Alder who the statue in Peccado Square Circle was honoring? Surely that would have been known. Surely that would have been celebrated.
Surely.
from the room.
I'm gonna lean in behind Penelope and go, Is your ancestor saying that he was a bit of a cock? Is that... Are we... Is that...
It's okay.
Right. Anyway.
And I go, well, what a pleasure it is to have you here with us this evening, Charles.
No, it has been lovely to visit
And what
the living again.
yeah, isn't it fantastic? And what an honor to be in the company of such an esteemed gentleman.
Esteem.
Yes.
Famous. Legacy. Her eyes roll back.
Sorry, the medium's not. This is
Yes.
Teak.
No.
No, not
This
Teak.
is
This is an
The
unnamed
person
medium.
that Buttersworth went out to talk to.
Yes.
Right.
who they are
Sorry,
is
The unnamed party.
yes. The medium's eyes roll back and she slumps forward and sits up feebly and is like, hello, did you witness the other side?
No, you did very well, darling.
Good, I need a drink. And she, I need
Somebody get this woman a
water.
drink, please. Penelope, could you go? Thank you.
And Betty steps into the circle and lays a hand on the medium's shoulder. It's like, that was incredible. Thank you so much. I present Divina Fortuna to you all. And she starts around applause and everyone. And like half the crowd is like, oh my God, that was incredible. Oh my God, wow,
I'm
wow,
also
wow, wow.
sort of bowing. I'm also like,
Amazing, amazing. And Betty turns to you and is like, and thank you so much for being a
Oh.
part of this.
I'm always happy to be a guide for lost spirits in this world.
Of course, and Davina must have felt your
where they were.
your abilities from
know?
across the room and knew you were the best person. For
I mean,
this.
that's very flattering of you to say that my abilities could be sensed at such a distance.
Of course. And as the crowd starts to turn their attention to each other and the conversation start off with Betty, thank you again. Now I must talk to Penelope. This is incredible. And she goes,
Why don't we all go and
Yes, I admit
all go
I'm
and ask
fascinated as well.
lovely Penelope.
You and everyone else in the crowd.
Yeah.
Swamping this person as they're fetching a drink.
Yep.
Does she seem uncomfortable with this revelation?
Oh.
As the new center of attention, no. She seems quite pleased that many people who otherwise may not have spoken to her yet tonight have suddenly gone out of their way to talk to her. She's kind of fending off conversations like, yes, absolutely, I will be with you in a moment. Oh my God, yes, it's incredible. Oh, I know. I like, I've always known my family was, part of Beccado's elite, but, I didn't realize we were so central to town. And you also, Penelope's father is also here, Edward. He's got people who may not be comfortable talking to Penelope are talking to Edward, and similar conversations are happening with him as well.
And I go, Penelope, how could you keep such a interesting fact about your family from us all?
Well, this is as much news to me as it is to you,
Well,
but
the man seemed quite proud. You think he would have left, a notebook, a note? Surely he would have lauded his, honor.
Yes.
The man's got a statue named after him, hasn't he?
Well, yes, and that's the question, isn't it? Quite a caricature of a rooster. What was the choice there?
I am so excited to find out. My family estate suffered the fire a couple of generations ago. Many records were lost, but I must do some more digging. It's incredible, isn't it? It's amazing how...
At the word digging, I just perk up a little.
You're ready. It's amazing how my family is just...
Full of secrets?
Sure, if you want to phrase it that way. Full of delight would be another way. Full of esteem and...
Likely to burn evidence? Sorry, what were we... What?
And people go...
Oh, it's the creepy man from before. I heard him ask.
Yeah, you're not going to win any favors with that sort of nonsense.
I want to tell you something about creep, young lady.
No, you don't. No, put your hand on the shoulder. Even I know. Nope. No, you do
None
not.
of that.
Would Thaddeus be talking to the father? Because they're both kind of sort of a bit
Sure.
more older, high
Thaddeus
society?
is
I feel like
one
that
of the
would
groups
be
near the father.
a good avenue for me to go canvass some information about this.
Yep.
And I'm always interested to hear more.
Absolutely. As you kind of you move away.
But that's to say nothing of your intentions
Yeah.
either. That was just what I was doing.
No, I'm really just trying to sow a bit of dissent.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Penelope kind of finishes exchanging this
Pleasantries,
exchange pleasantries. Sure, Barbs with you by turning to some as she turns away from you, she kind of gives you a little wink and be like, "Well, good luck beating that," and goes back to talking to someone a little bit more.
Where are
elite.
Doris and Donald Jefferson right now? Because this news is big
my
for
God.
them.
Obviously, not as much of a crowd around
No,
Donald than as around.
I mean,
the
how are they
Addisons, but,
reacting to the news?
Donald is over the moon. Donald is having a great time. People are suddenly incredibly interested in his work. Normally,
His life's work.
His life's work. Normally, he'll monologue at people, and now people are asking him questions, and he gets to share knowledge. So he has a small not everyone can crowd around these two Addisons. So other people have, some people have gathered around Donald, who is telling everything he can, and other people have other little think groups in other parts of the room as well.
I would like to employ a little scene cue, given the social predicament
You have found yourself in.
Withers is in. This is called the academic.
Yes.
So you are well educated and an academic, even if you mostly study the supernatural.
Yep.
Use this to impress those around you or recall important information to aid you in a predicament.
Sure.
I think Withers is going to dig deep through his encyclopedic knowledge of the museum and the way that they've put it together and try and think of something about why the rooster might have been important to the moon and the whole setup to try and gain some...
But we'll never know why the dish ran away with the spoon.
some social standing given his faux pas before.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I see. This is purely about clawing your way back into dignified society.
So are you going to talk to the academics then and rock up by saying something very insightful?
I think I'm trying to use that
Donald
knowledge
and
with Donald and that crowd, given that he is probably dead to the younger generation.
Yep.
He's going to...
Oof. Yeah.
Damn.
He's going to dig up
Yep.
with the older generation that might be more around.
With his TikTok followers, I just,
Yeah.
like, that count is plummeting.
Yeah.
You have visited the museum a couple of times. It's full of old things. So Donald has amassed a collection of kind of historical photos going back as far as he could find of the statue and like first known records and those sorts of things to try and pinpoint a date. And he's also like amassed possible origins, I guess. So, you know, these metals came from here and were imported by these. Like it's basically a crazy theory board, but in museum
But, like,
form.
the statue was made so far in the past that, like, when it actually got made is lost to
Yeah,
time,
no one
right?
quite knows the date. You know who made it? That's public knowledge. Rowena Duvall. Her name is on a plaque at the base of it. But no one quite knows
Who she was.
who she was, why she did it, and typically these artworks were commissioned. So, as for the rooster's imagery and importance, there have been many theories, some connected to certain families that Donald thinks farmers who ascended in wealth when, you know, industry boom. Let's say the rooster crows at dawn, and that is a symbolism of business and industry and the industrial era and those sorts of things.
I'm just thinking, like, this is more than like 3 or 4 generations back.
Yes.
To,
Given the impression you got of Charles in the seance, you think maybe it was literally just a big cock on a moon.
Yeah.
Felt like the best way he wanted to be remembered. He was like, something in him just really felt a connection to that imagery. And that's how he felt he could immortalize his achievements. But your knowledge would be more around how the Addison family absolutely is a viable option. Like that is, like there are numerous...
But they had been considered.
Yes,
As,
they
that they can
had.
trace their lineage back into that period.
Yes.
And it loses itself to obscurity around that era.
Yeah. Yep. So you could talk about how Alders did like pioneer some of the first microscopes and telescopes and lenses and those sorts of things. And that's part of how like the inventor side of that family became known and had renown, and like the scientific side of that family as well. So you could enter with some of that knowledge.
Yeah, I think Withers will wander in as he does to a conversation.
Hovering at the edges.
Obviously and awkwardly.
But with a bit more, I guess, attempt at social panache.
Yeah.
Some swagger, perhaps.
And kind of go, Donald, I've just put my finger on it. I have been so distracted and off kilter all evening because something was calling to me about the last time I visited your wonderful museum. I was thinking about the arrangements of the way you took some of those microscopes and the telescopes and the pieces that we knew and how right you might be about Charles Alder. And I was just thinking, maybe it's about the arrangement and there's some call to the future here in this house because of the way you put that together. And so I'm thinking that maybe you were right in some of this. And I just wanted to say, I think you and our host, with the right alignment, might be onto something.
Oh, it's incredible. It's so exciting. It's I'm so pleased that my research, I was on the right track, and you're right. The Charles Alder, the telescopes, like I'd collected so many of them. Are you implying that perhaps I'd somehow arranged them in a way that connected with the other side?
Some sort of spiritual channel, I think. It's hard to tell because I'm more of a future kind of furniture guy, but the way in which it connected.
And you're the best furniture guy.
Oh, thank you so much. I love the drapes you chose. Anyway, the way it connected to this kind of, must have opened up this channel tonight, and I am so proud to be part of, what was that society's name?
The Minor Arcana.
The Minor Arcana, to help me unpull some of this together. And I feel like there might be more we can do to keep this channel open and solve this mystery that you've helped us unravel.
Oh, yes, I'm so excited to... I know, I'll be honest, I know most of my research off by heart, but I'm so excited about which avenues I can focus more, and I'm so excited to talk to the Addisons and really delve into their family history and perhaps be given permission to access their library and their
such as remains.
Don't you think it's interesting? I've wandered over.
Yeah.
Seems the next most interesting people to talk to.
Yeah.
I say, well, don't you think it's interesting that Penelope claims most of their records were lost?
Oh, yes. Well, we all know their family suffered a great loss 3 generations or so ago when there was an accident in the fireplace and, candles in an old wooden house. These things happen. It's terrible,
in
terrible.
the fireplace.
Adjacent to the carpet next to the flammable objects.
We
adjacent to
were
the
playing ping
fireplace.
pong in the hearth, and you know how that goes.
And it escalated very quickly. Yes, but I'm so excited to see what might still have been remained, because obviously they recovered what they could, but I know much of their ancestry and their family records were lost in that.
Well, this has put me back up to 4 scandal rather than 5 as well with that. With the use of that.
Yes, the academic is plus dignity, so that's good.
Sick.
Yeah, I was going over to the elder
Oh, yes.
Addison, who Thaddeus
Edward.
was talking to. Edward.
Edward's got his suspenders on, not dissimilar to yours. Quite a nice suit, though a little scuffed around the ankles. He's chatting to Doris and a couple of older folk, and also some of the more curious the type of academics to go out and do digs rather than...
Yeah, that's hence why I was like, Thaddeus is probably they're probably of a similar age,
Yeah.
and, would have known each other.
Yep. So more of the field work academics have also approached him, and he's like, yes, my obviously my family has worked in the sciences and the inventions for such a long time, so I'm so excited to my new line of cars is out there, and Doris is already a big supporter, and he shakes her hand warmly. Thank you so much.
Yes, one day I'll learn to drive.
Yes, it's not too hard, and it's very fun. I highly recommend it. And he's alternating between talking about his family history and businessman at heart, dropping little. I made a new car. Buy my new car.
Game recognizes game.
Yep.
I get it.
Please.
Obviously, you're a family with a proud history in this town.
Oh yes, absolutely. We go back many generations.
I think I actually probably approach and wait for an introduction from Thaddeus or something. Just kind of be like, just muscle in and
next
start
to
talking, or just kind of be in the crowd and sort of, as a person who's connected to the occult, I'm sort of feel like I could sidle over to sort of Thaddeus and go, I see you're talking to our man of the moment, as it were.
Thaddeus is like, oh, yes, come in. This might be your time to shine. Finally, that weird little hobby of yours is somewhat more relevant.
It's not a hobby, it's my dissertation.
That is a choice that you made.
And you've funded. By the way, we really need to talk about the next dig. I know that you delayed the last meeting to go over funding requirements, but anyway, conversation for another time, of course.
We'll book that in. Edward, have you met my one of my team, Jude Hollis? He exists in somewhere between the academic and the occult, so he's actually...
I make an academic study of the occult to inform, my research and history and archaeology.
Fantastic. Edward's like...
Lovely to meet you, Mr. Addison.
Oh, shakes hands. Is that so? I've never touched on the occult before in my life. I'm more of a bricks and mortar and metal and steel kind of guy.
Look, yes, you seem like you keep a very level head on your shoulders.
Thank you.
But, we did hear it straight from the rooster's beak, as it were. Quite a proud family. Is that a sigil of some kind that is connected to the sort of older family, as you trace it back? I'm just the revelation about the statue is fascinating, but I don't understand the rooster.
I admit I've not felt a connection to the rooster myself. We're definitely more of the mechanical side rather than the farm animal side in the
Perhaps
family. But
a statement of industriousness, early to rise, or something like that.
that's a good one. Maybe I'll work that into my new business model.
Certainly.
Yes.
This is how men talk.
But I think it probably break away politely from that conversation. Circle up.
And I go, suspicious. I think the whole thing's suspicious. We're just like quietly talking in the corner. You know, I know a fake seance when I see one. And I'm telling
Why
you.
do you do that?
You know, because there are so many frauds in this industry.
That's very sad.
So many.
I didn't realize that. You know, we've always been so genuine here at the society.
Don't you just think that it's a little bit suspicious that here's Penelope really just gunning for a social standing and favor in Betty's name, and then here she is, talk of the hour? It's suspicious.
I suppose. Edward seemed to be pushing his business angle quite hard. It's possible he's trying to drum up some sort of interest. You
look over and he has pulled his briefcase out again, and him and another older gentleman are currently signing some paperwork.
So, like, again, Penny's the target, but, like, maybe not actually the perpetrator. And then there's also Doris and Donald. You know, I'm sure their business's patronage at the museum is going to boom after tonight. So, you know, there are a few people who'd stand to gain from such a revelation.
No one quite as much as Penelope.
Well, yes.
Shot into the upper echelon of society.
Would a young lady like Penelope have to do a consult with our lovely other seance provider and perhaps
Davina. Well, yes.
Is it in a diary?
If this was
something?
faked, the people that would absolutely know is Davina. And whoever bribed her or booked her.
Well, but it seems like Betty would have arranged
Well, you would have thought so.
the entertainment.
But,
So,
however, you know, I do know that unfortunately Betty and Penelope are kind of close, so it's very possible Betty may have told Penelope her plans for the evening beforehand.
I do have a little sort of ace in the hole, or death in the purse, as it were, for later. And I'm just gonna, I slipped a few spicier cards into Penelope's tarot deck while we were all making our way into the seance room.
I mean,
so
very good.
We can certainly use that to our advantage later on.
I mean, I'm sure. But then we'd have to watch her do tarot readings.
Yes, but think about how delightful it would be to have her do a reading on Betty and pull nothing but death cards. Imagine the awkwardness that would exist between them after that.
What? Listen, Whipsnappers. What I'm trying to say here
It's horrible.
is, if we don't cause some friction between Penelope and we're going to lose, and our lovely host, we're going to lose this bet. And personally, I think she's a little bit of a witch. So, I am really.
I say.
That's not very dignified of you.
He's not a very dignified man.
No, not.
I'm right here. So, if we can prove that perhaps she can run the little old seance the right way, we might be able to.
It's true.
Indeed. Well,
I'm not normally a petty person, but perhaps maybe a little bit of pettiness might be in order.
well, I mean, how do we go about finding out this information? How do we go about revealing it? Is there someone or some way we could perhaps coax that out of either Penelope or Miss Fortuna?
Is Davina Fortuna
Yes.
around?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. She took a moment to rest after her seance, after speaking with Charles. But she has set up in the corner with her crystal ball, and she is offering readings for people.
Why don't we all go chat to Davina?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we should all wander
Yeah.
down, and I'll come up with a pretense of being like, oh, Davina, I just wanted to introduce you to a couple more members of
When
the
you go
Minor
over-
Arcana.
When you go over, she's just finishing up a tarot reading with one of the other members, and she's like, "You will meet your lover in the presence of a swan. On its wings you will find love and many, many grandchildren. Gertrude's like, grandchildren? And the chick that's like,
Swans very specific.
swans. I must go and find a swan. And she wanders off. And Davina turns to you and is like, friend.
Oh, darling. I just wanted to introduce you to a couple more members of my social club, the Minor Arcana. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Jude Hollis,
Lovely
who's
to meet you,
a
Miss Phillips.
professor over at Hackford University.
Haxford College.
Haxford
yes, Professor of
College.
Applied
I see-
History. I'm quite interested
see-
in this.
Dust. Is it sand? Books. Pages.
Yes,
Many, many
as I
pages.
said, Jude is a professor. So.
I'm actually studying scrolls at the moment.
Paper. It was just paper.
Oh, they're made of a sort of
Just flat surfaces upon which inscriptions. I see. I feel a desk.
Well, speaking of desks, you might be interpreting
yes,
the lovely
a desk.
Albert.
A desk. How insightful.
The
of
lovely
course.
Albert
It's,
Whittington.
catching on way too late that we want to not get this woman immediately. So just a desk.
Yes, the
So
lovely
you know.
Albert Whittington, who you might know from
Witherington.
Witherington. Albert Witherington, who you might know from Witherington's phantasmagorical furnishings.
An absolute pleasure to meet another talent in such a niche industry.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Yes, you were the desk. You have been the desk all along.
I have often felt like a desk.
Yes, I feel it. I see it in your bones, the shape of the drawers. And the...
So it seems you're right on it.
Yeah.
I see all. I know all.
Oh,
Really?
Most. I see glimpses. Fragments.
Oh, well, you know,
Small
so does
fragments.
darling Albert here.
it's a trifle compared to such talents, but I often feel the calling in the futures rather than the past of what may be or could be related
Incredible.
specifically to furnishings. It's a blessing and a curse. I was very fascinated by, you seem to have such an easy connection to the Addison family there, just such a direct channel. In your professional opinions, how does one cultivate that sort of ease?
Well, I open my heart and my body up to the other side, and it finds me. You were saying you feel a knocking. I think I too felt a knocking of the spirit.
So you've never met Penelope before?
Who's Penelope?
Surely you know Penelope Addison.
Do you point her out, or are you just like, surely?
I mean, I just say, surely you know.
Of course.
Because it would
you
be...
wouldn't remember you were under the influence, as it were. Penelope was the...
Of the Tarot Society, I see you read the cards there yourself.
Oh, of course. Yes, I recognize kindred spirits, and Penelope's waving around a tarot card right now.
The youngest
Obviously.
descendant of your
the spirit.
channeled beyond tonight.
Of course. Charles Alder had a family.
Well, I often find that when I'm trying to connect with, a particular spirit, I need a conduit of sorts, a piece of clothing, their favorite shoe, an old book, their dog's collar, something of that sort to try and ground them. It's interesting to me that you could just conjure such a clear representation with no grounding whatsoever.
Yes, the accent was impeccable.
You can see when you said usually you would need an object. She looks. She starts to get a little bit more uncomfortable and a bit stressed. She's like, "What can I say? It just came to me from the other side."
Davina, how long have you been, as you asked me, in the industry?
Oh, well, I've always felt the call of the spirits in my soul, but I am making myself known only recently as a fortune teller, as a
New to the-
medium.
new to the circle, then.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it fortunate that you have such a high social event as I guess, your sort of debut? Isn't that interesting? How did you come to know
Elizabeth
lady?
Carmine.
Oh, well, you see, I was, she'd actually booked Mystique, but Mystique was unwell and recommended me.
Mystique recommended you?
Sent me in her stead.
Mystique did?
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
She recognizes a gift when she sees one.
Interesting. I hadn't known Mystique to work with any other mediums.
Especially not one so junior. You know, she's quite revered amongst the occult societies around town. Obviously, too proficient to even have one of her own. You know, she sort of floats above us all. So I was very surprised she'd reach out to someone like you, a young protege or something like that, perhaps.
Would you like to... It feels like you're trying to intimidate her into... Like you're applying the pressure now. Would you like to roll... Would one of you like to roll...
I would love to roll bravado.
Bravado
please do.
to break her.
No successes. And I probably go, yes, isn't that interesting?
It might be the right time for Witherington to apply a little bit of his own skill to see what might make this lady break.
Okay, go for it.
Seeing the falter but not full success
Yep.
there, and I would like to use psychic.
Do it.
Which is impress someone with your ability to cold read them or psychically intuit them. And I think Witherington will like scan her behavior and her mannerisms and the way she's been responding and looking around the room. Has she been glancing at Penelope at all?
Not so much at Penelope. You've noticed she's actually been glancing at her handbag.
Her handbag. I think
when she was talking about Mystique sent her here, she glanced at her handbag.
I think he normally uses this skill to figure out what kind of furniture people are actually interested in, and then does his whole thing.
We're aware.
And he'll kind of usher all four of us a little bit away from some of the people. I don't mean to be terribly rude, young lady. Well, actually, I do. You give a few things away, and your mannerisms point to you having a few, shall we say, helps to achieve this. I recognize a lot of talent in you, much like our young compatriots, but you need a little...
Of course.
You need a little guiding if you're going to start without impulse. So, perhaps we should start again, and you should tell us how you really got to this conclusion, and maybe together we could nurture you into the arcana, as it will, and really bring you up to the fold so you can get a few of these big clients week after week.
You've read her for filth. You've pointed out the hole explicitly enough that...
Let's start with what's in your bag, shall we?
She pulls out a letter being like, no, Mystique absolutely did send me. And there's a letter that is like, I've grown ill. I can't make it. I've sent my protege, signed Mystique. And when you glare at her a little bit more and she's like, but I'm... Okay. And she also pulls out a second letter written in the same handwriting as the first letter, which says, basically outlines what she's been hired to do and some fun facts about Charles Alder that she should...
Oh, it's a sort of a talking points list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things to say things that Charles would know, I guess, a little bit of family history. And she shows you that as well. It's like, I was hired to be the entertainment. You are obviously...
Darling, don't worry. Trust me, nobody understands more than we do. You know, this
the temptation to sacrifice one's occult integrity. Not that we would ever do such a thing, but we understand. We understand why someone in a more desperate situation might take the deal.
Well, I'm an actor. You see, this is right up my alley.
Of course.
So, obviously, the letter that outlines what she should say and do is actually signed anonymous. Like it's not named,
But in the
who
same
wrote
handwriting.
it. Is in the same handwriting as the one that's
It's from Mystique.
from Mystique. It's
Interesting.
basically a promise of a fee and ongoing patronage should she do this gig. She's like, I honestly assumed it was Betty, which would be incredible because what a woman, what a socialite. She could give me so many connections. So I was hired to do the entertainment. I didn't actually do anything wrong.
No, darling, and we would never, ever posit such a thing. In fact, we think you've done a fantastic job. It was very entertaining.
Thank you. Convincing?
Absolutely. As you can see, the crowd is in an uproar.
I love it. I love it. Wouldn't it?
I hope they paid you in advance.
Yes. 10 readies for the night and then ongoing
Only
payment.
10.
Ongoing. Sorry, what?
Well, ongoing patronage. They've promised to reach out again and create further work for me.
Right. I see.
You know, wouldn't it be fantastic? You know, there's already been such an uproar. Wouldn't it be fantastic to just get everybody's blood roaring just
Yes,
a little bit more?
You know, parties like this, they love a bit of hot gossip. It really boils the blood, doesn't it?
You know, I know
really
you've got
sells it.
a list of boring historical talking points, but what if we added a little bit of scandal?
Spice to the soup.
Ooh,
And
tell
then,
me
you know, Betty loves a bit of gossip. And she certainly loves her party being the party of the year. So why don't we shake things up a little bit? I mean, you were so convincing the first time.
Thank you.
Why don't we have you channel good Charles again, and maybe we have some fascinating revelations.
What did you have in mind?
I mean, there is no real proof that any of what you were sent was true
No, but I
anyways.
think rather than refute any of it, build on it in a scandalous way. You know.
But yes, if Charles Alder perhaps is connected to the Addisons, but not in the way that someone socially may like, then we can separate our two, and Betty will perhaps want to join us to explore these scandalous revelations further.
This is true, and as you said, Betty would make a wonderful patron.
Incredible.
And if you were to perhaps be a member of the Minor Arcana, and if we were to bring on Lady Carmine as a patron for our society, wouldn't that put us all in great stead?
I love it. I love everything.
And of course, your patron wouldn't even tell you who they were. So who's to
Well,
say that
they
they're of
were-
any decent standing at all?
They were asking me to lie a little bit. I understand why they wanted to keep that a little secret.
I have an
So tell me.
idea on that actually, but we'll get to that in a moment.
What do you want me to do?
All right, listen. Why don't I get the party really jiving? Everyone a little bit socially lubricated, as you said. Everyone feeling a little bit of the hubbub of the evening. And maybe we'll have you suddenly feel as if Charles is
Taking over.
taking over.
I can do that.
I'm sure you can.
I can get Penny on the back foot, I think, with as I mentioned before, slip some stack the deck, as it were. And I think that
Yeah,
might be
get her on
fun.
edge. Put her in a
And I think
bad
I may
stead.
have something for you to do as well. How are you? What's your relationship with Bartisworth like?
But we get along. We're old chums from a while back.
Well, yes. I know that everyone who had to arrive tonight had to submit a card with their introductions handwritten on it. Perhaps there might be some opportunity to match handwriting. Find out who our anonymous note came from.
Say no more. And I just grab one of the notes and wander off.
Right.
Take,
You're gone.
Take both.
fantastic.
So you need to prep the tarot situation.
Well,
like,
I'm just
get
gonna.
her-
What I'm gonna. I think I'd try and do is get
goad her into
doing a reading for Betty publicly.
Sweet.
And I'm just going to get the party going because I'm the life of the party. And it says, no one parties like a bohemian. Your events have the best music, dancing, costumes, and decor. You can turn any boring, lifeless affair into a wild and uproarious party.
Great.
+1 scandal.
All right. Let's start with what you're doing, Jude.
Yes.
As the hubbub slowly. I'm just
Yeah.
like flitting
This will be
around.
building
I'm
in
like
the background.
taking people beverages.
Yeah, I think this is sort of as the initial dispersal of people has kind of calmed down after the seance, right? Like Penny's had a chance to be the center of attention, and people are now like remembering that they
Just
should
chatting.
get drinks and chat and socialize.
Yeah.
So I think there's still perhaps a bit of a crowd, right? Like larger than when she started the night, but probably
It has died down a bit.
most people are moving back to where the bartenders are. And
Yeah,
but-
and into their own groups.
But I feel like
too.
Elizabeth is probably talking to Penny because like center of attention and
Yeah.
all that. So
Betty's
I'm
been
just-
with Penelope trying to help her navigate the onslaught of people.
Yes. So I think I'm just going to kind of like listen to the edges of that conversation and like look for an opening. And I'm just kind of like, yes, I will admit it probably seems hardly surprising to you, given your own connection to the occult, that a relative of yours would appear this evening. You know.
Of course. I felt it in the cards.
Those of
I
us with a
couldn't-
connection to the beyond tend to draw in,
more
spirits.
connections and
Yes.
absolutely.
Although a seance is not your usual medium, is it? It's not your chosen method of touching the supernatural.
It's true. I prefer the cards myself. They're so elegant and they lay out the story to come so perfectly on the table.
Yes, I was actually wondering if you could give me a demonstration, Betty, this is your party. Would you like to do the honors of being sort of the recipient of such a grand reading?
Do you want to roll persuasion?
What's the distinction here between persuasion and wit? Like,
You can roll wit if you'd prefer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
outwitting them.
Okay.
And this is, you just need one. This is an easy
Well, look at
easy sell.
I have 2.
Hey.
Easy. Betty's like, at the idea of getting a reading, she's like super into the occult right now, given everything that's going on. She's like, Penny, I'd love that so much. And Penelope's like, and for you, Betty, anything. And for you, I would love to show you how much better the tarots are.
Please.
I kind of sweep past and I go, oh, everyone, look. Betty's getting a reading from Penelope. Just like as I sweep past to like gather a crowd.
Yep. People do gather as you are kicking up the party.
Yep.
They sit down on some of the lounges. The academics shuffle off to the side and move their tracings off to create space, and they sit down opposite each other. And Betty looks very excited. Penelope takes a deep breath, passes the deck to Betty. Please shuffle this, cut the deck, do the things, gets the deck back and starts laying out cards in the appropriate pattern on the table. And how many death cards did you slip into the deck?
I mean, this is where I admit my knowledge of tarot is quite limited. So
Well, there's
I
normally
don't even-
one.
Yeah.
So
like probably like 10 at least.
10.
Like enough that it's like basically a certainty.
Yeah, okay. Penelope lays them out. They're all upside down, and she starts to flip them one by one. She's like, "All right, you're passed," and she flips over a sword of 7s and a cup of 3s in appropriate directions. Like, your past is full of life and laughter and family. And Betty's like, I know, it's been incredible. She flips over 2 more cards for the present, and one of them is death. Death, and everyone's like, ooh.
Yeah, there's like murmuring.
Yeah,
It's like,
and Betty's
that
like,
can't be good.
well, the seance, obviously that's your death. And they're like, ha 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 ha,
Oh, of
great,
course.
wonderful. And then future, they move on to future, and they flip up one of the coins cards, but it's upside down this time, and they flip up another death card. Rolled a d6 to see how many deaths would appear. And Penelope is quite taken aback. She knows there's only one death card in a tarot deck, and also coins, wealth. Inverted is the opposite meaning with tarot cards. So it would be no wealth.
loss of wealth.
Loss of wealth, generally speaking.
Just
that
in the
can't-
back,
oh,
like,
that definitely
like
doesn't
just
look
like behind people, like, oh my god,
Yeah.
doesn't that mean that she's going to lose all her money
And
Like,
die?
run away.
I thought she was in fine health.
And then it's just like disseminate the whispers through
Betty,
the
is
Yeah.
everything okay?
So Penelope tries to cover it up, but like obviously, like there are a couple of people in the crowd who are aware of what tarot cards mean. The occult has become quite a big thing at this point in time. And so they know she's going to go broke and die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have started whispering about it. Penny tries to play it off like wealth will circle back round. There is like wealth comes and wealth goes. She will give money away to a charity.
I don't know about all that. Elizabeth, this sort of seems very out of step.
And don't we all die someday? It's,
Oh, that's very morbid of you. And also, like, surely that's.
And
goes
everyone's like,
without saying.
wop, 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 wop. And Penny quickly packs up the cards. And it's like, but Betty, what an incredible party, and tries to move swiftly along. But Betty's a bit taken aback and uncomfortable with what has just happened. And the crowd whispering about her impending broke death is quite uncomfortable for
And they're
her.
like all now whispering about any scandals in the
Yeah,
Carmine.
of
And
course.
I'm just there like, scandals in the Carmine family.
whisper death. And everyone's a little bit more drunk now than they were when they started.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to build
The party.
some mob mentality.
Does Penny slip away very quickly?
That conversation breaks up. So Betty's like, thank you so much. Excuse me.
Sort of, I mean, that's, well, not that I necessarily believe any of that. You seem in fine spirits and health, to be honest with you. So
I'm sure it's all in good fun. And she's right. I do give money to many charities, and
Of
course, everyone passes away, as is the circle of life.
It just seems very out of step with how things are for you right now, and it was a very public kind of damnation from your close friend.
Well, I did ask for the future, and there's no date set in. She's very much
how remarkably level-headed.
Yeah,
of you,
she's very much like trying to keep the mood up.
Unflappable as always.
It's a gift. What can I say? Yeah, she's very much trying to keep the mood up, and will never be caught speaking publicly ill of
Anybody
of someone else. But you can tell she's uncomfortable with what just happened.
I'm just gonna like lean in and say, if you not that it necessarily means anything, because again, tarot is just cards. But if you are concerned with your, mortal state, I'm sure we at the Minor Arcana would be more than happy to reach out to the occult and see what we can clarify for you if you have any concerns. We're here for you. You've done so much for this community, and we wouldn't want anything to
happen.
Yeah.
She takes both your hands, like, thank you for that offer. It's very kind. I might take you up on that. I'll stop by soon.
No pressure at all, obviously.
So you go over to Montgomery.
Monty.
Withers.
Yes, I have a predicament, if you will. There was an error on my card, and I wanted to compare it to one of the others because they were talking about our introductions, and I was wondering, as favor to favor, we came from similar stock in the world.
You say favor to favor.
Yeah, I mean, if I
Very good, sir. Some dry socks.
Some dry socks,
please.
Absolutely. I will take my socks off and hand them to him.
Do you do that in front of him, or do you do it subtly?
I'll try. Like, I won't do it straight away. I'll kind of like step over to the side and be like, absolutely, and just disappear like out the entrance.
Immediately acquiesce to this request.
Like disappear out the entrance, come back, shoes to back on,
Yeah.
no socks, and just be like, absolutely, here you go.
Freshly laundered and warm. Already warm from the dryers. Lovely. Thank you,
yes.
thank you. What can I do for you?
Oh, God.
Just if I could just flick through the entrance cards and just compare a couple so I could know how to,
Absolutely.
I'm aging a bit. I just want to get better in my old age.
You've just forgotten someone's name, haven't you? Very good, sir. Secret safe with me.
Thank you.
Cards are public knowledge. Like,
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be, you would probably
They're just in a box
It
there.
would be socially like a bit, rude to flick through them like a Rolodex. But
but you're not.
There's
you're
nothing,
also not the first
there's nothing
person to be
secret.
like, I've forgotten.
They don't guard them with their lives or anything like that.
So go for it. You flick through it. You find.
And holding the paper, just going.
You're
Who
looking.
matches?
This one, which handwriting
Who
is
matches? You flick through and you find Edward's. Not a match. You find Penelope's. Not a match.
Ooh, wait a second.
You keep flicking through, being like, who out of all of these damn people?
Damn you!
And you find
The Jefferson.
Doris Jefferson. Matches.
God damn it.
Wait a second. Wait, does this change the plan? Is it? Oh God. Thank you. Absolutely. More warm socks coming away, my man.
Very good, sir.
And I'll just like shuffle away quickly to try and.
Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Yeah, you drew back up with this like,
I have a blister.
Albert, what happened to your socks?
Socks are very unfashionable these days. You young as would understand.
Know that.
I know we're about to launch the plan, but
Yes, tell us now the information you found that will clearly result in the fullness of time the destruction of Penelope's reputation.
about that, it was the museum holders, the
Jeffersons.
Jefferson.
Doris and Donald.
Yes, their card matched the writing, so it looks like we may be pinning it on the wrong person, and this benefit
Unless they're
does that.
But maybe they're in cahoots.
cahoots or taking the fall, perhaps.
Also,
They also stand to gain. There could
Plenty.
be a conspiracy here.
Both families would be raised in esteem.
does this also, like, I don't want to speak too much out of turn, but I really don't like Penelope, so maybe this doesn't change our plan.
Maybe it doesn't change our plan at all.
I mean, we can still humiliate Penelope for sure. We should definitely go talk to the Jeffersons again, though. I reckon. Look, there might be an addendum, but I don't think anything has to change.
Right, well, let's swing by the Jeffersons and
what
give
do
the
you think?
I think we can absolutely go ahead with our plan. And now we have the irrefutable proof that does protect darling Davina. So hopefully she will be very, very happy to.
She's getting quite drunk at this point.
Oh, excellent.
Perfect.
So-
That's not a problem.
Great. She's like, I'm at a party. I'm going to have a party.
Shall we swing by the Jeffersons?
Sure.
Donald is still lecturing about everything he knows about the cockaloon. And Doris is sitting with him like, so happy for you, Donald. So it's very exciting.
I'd almost go up to them and try and channel the camaraderie from before again with Donald and kind of...
Great.
It seems like Bethany has real psychic power to her tonight. I saw a tarot reading. Well, I didn't see it. I heard about a tarot reading earlier.
I love that you... Bethany?
Bethany.
Penny?
Penny?
Betty.
Betty!
Elizabeth or Penny?
He's a very old
which
man.
is it, my friend?
This man's about 85.
Yeah.
No one actually knows how old you are.
I have always been...
Trade secret.
I wanted to come back around to your lovely museum. Perhaps we could have a quiet word about some of the psychic arrangements with you and your lovely wife.
I have.
Yes, I know you did
quite,
do several of the display cases, didn't you?
Yes, really, really ancient ones from the place that was old. He has like a
Mild stroke.
I don't even know what you're chasing here.
Just trying to pull him aside for half a moment, but he has like a kind of
Stumbling.
a moment where he's like so intent on the social moment that his brain just goes.
Donald's like, I need to tell. They have so many questions, and I can. And Doris pats him on the knee and goes, "Don't worry, Donald. I can help you with anything." What to do with the excuse me, Donald. She kisses him on the cheek, and so Donald is left lecturing his rapt crowd of 7 people, and Doris comes with you.
Shall we bring her in on the? So it's like just right there, but I'm like, shall we? Would you like to bring her in on the?
Well, as an academic whose whole career is built on hard work and an industrious attempt to understand the world. I find the idea of manufacturing history to be abhorrent. But I do respect the hustle.
But darling, we have the proof, so there's no point in...
Jig is up, so to speak, but we can be very
accommodating.
discreet, if you would.
The jig could perhaps be mutually beneficial.
Please speak plainly. I'm in a bit of a tizzy.
Okay. I'll lay it out for you. Look, we've got the notes. We can see the handwriting. We have a confession. What's it gonna be?
But Doris, darling, don't look so frightened.
I'm not.
This is not a takedown of you.
I'm
my
not
dear.
intimidated. I don't think the Museum de Cocteloon holds any threat to Haxford College. Like, this is not a maneuvering problem. We have other motives, and you are now going to help us.
You're blackmailing an old woman.
Yes.
Sick.
Scruples?
In
What?
fact, I think this could be mutually beneficial to both of us. As we all know, nothing sells quite like a scandal.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I just wouldn't want you to. Don't tell Donald.
Oh, darling. Oh, bless you. Of course not. We can see how excited he is. And wouldn't it be even better if it could just blow up even further? Shoot the museum right to the moon, so to speak, in
Yes.
popularity.
We've arranged a bit of a addendum to tonight's revelations that we think will add some spice.
What do you?
Darling Davina
What
is going to feel the call of Charles Alder once again.
Oh no, that's not.
Oh, yes.
She doesn't need to.
No, for our purposes, she does and is.
And she's going to have good Charles reveal some scandalous and devastating information. Pleasantries are over. The time for pleasantries are done.
Miss Fortuna's gonna summon Charles again. Charles is gonna say some mean things about Penelope. You are going to affirm them. You're going to coax your deluded but enthusiastic husband to support
How dare you?
you by your own hand and hold up the cards. We wouldn't do anything to shatter his delusion, as it were. You've so kindly requested that, and we have no intention of,
He has done decades of research.
Yes, and
He's
you...
not deluded.
Well, as we've seen, you are the one that's immediately gone and undermined that. We're just sort of pushing that lever a little harder than you intended for our own gain. But I don't think that has to come at your loss. Again, a scandalous revelations about the history of the great statue would further drum up business, and I assume that was your ultimate goal.
Dare you? I am not simply in this for the.
Well, then why lie?
This has been Donald's life's work. I've gone with him on this journey, and
You don't want to see him fail.
I want to see him succeed so we can undertake other journeys.
Honey, I'm going to say this very plainly. Whatever he's not giving you, giving him what he wants isn't going to get it for you.
We've spent decades focusing on the Cocteloon. I would like to find the Sapphire Empire before I turn
You are
too old to
you
walk.
are risking your entire reputation for somebody who is not going to appreciate it.
She loves him.
I get that.
With this game.
I'm immediately like, you can't waste this. Internal thoughts. Continuing the cell.
Yep.
I think Withers will.
Whatever your goals are, they will, I guarantee you, be benefited by our arrangement. Accentuating, and
If
building
I am
on.
to understand this correctly, you won't tell anyone that I
No,
No.
in return, just that similarly from before, whatever comes out later tonight is also supported by the museum.
What are you going to have her say?
It would be beneficial for our purposes if Charles was scandalized in some way, and that reflected poorly on his family. So I think rather than a grand researcher who made these great discoveries, I think perhaps Charles's unfinished business could be that he is in fact a compulsive liar and a fraud, and his earlier talk tonight was repeating his bad behavior, but he's come back a second time to set the record straight so he can finally move on. That's his unfinished business, as it were, which is actually keeping him bound to this mortal plane. And I think for added flavor, the idea of that lie going so far that one has to commission a statue for oneself in the town square, to add just a little icing on that cake, maybe those funds were misappropriated for building that statue from some other civil purpose.
Well, I'm flabbergasted. What a brilliant idea. It would sort of reflect quite poorly on somebody who, who's known for a family who's known for their industrious and sort of scientific nature. To learn that they were simply all bark, no bite, as it were. All cock, no crow.
Oh.
Would you...
Well done.
I can't believe I'm doing this. Forgive me.
You've already done it, darling.
I need this mystery solved.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I think that's it. I think that puts it to bed finally. Because you want, to be clear, your goal in sort of starting a new chapter of your marriage together is that you want this work to be done.
Yes.
You want there to be no doubt left as to the time, place, and persons involved in the creation of this statue and exactly what social events led to its creation. You want every stone turned over.
Yes.
Excellent. We can take care of that.
Thank you.
I don't think that's necessary. I feel weird now. I'm having sort of second thoughts. I'm feeling a bit guilty, actually.
He's a sensitive fellow. Anyways, thank you for your cooperation, and I'm sure that this will go over swimmingly with the crowd.
And look, whoever made the real statue, somebody else, perhaps with better resources and a keener mind, will figure it out eventually.
Throw an insult in the end there. And she nods and walks back to Donald and sits down next to him and puts her hand back on his knee. And he looks at her excitedly and keeps talking, and she's like,
oh, this poor woman.
So
all right,
she's on board. You go back over to
Davina.
Slightly drunk Davina now.
And we go, Davina.
It's time.
Darling. All right, here's the sitch.
I'm ready.
And we relay the talking points we want her to say.
A list. And you go forth, and you've been ramping up this party this whole time. What does it look like now?
The hubbub, everyone is there's schmoozing and dancing, and people are sloshing drinks, but it's all very, Great Gatsby kind of levels of kind of uproarious. And now, well, Esme is not necessarily connected to the spiritual realm. She's certainly connected to lying and faking her way into situations.
Yeah, I have two I'd like to use as well.
So I'm going to go about, and this whole time that I've been up hubbubbing the party, I've also been finding out where all the light switches are, making sure I have access to smoke and fire and all of the regular tools of my actual trade, which is faking seances.
Sick.
So
wow, you really know how to. You must be very well versed in the real art to do such a good job imitating it.
Well, you see so many fakes. It's hard not, and it's easy to tell once you see the ways that they do it. It's so easy to replicate. It's really not very hard at all. So I basically want to
rig the lighting.
Yeah, rig the lighting to all the lights to go black.
So you've got the people in your team ready with the queue as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I have 2 more things
Yeah.
because I've got 2 scene cues. I'm going to use them.
Do
This feels like the end game. The first is Secret Tunnel,
Yes.
which is that if there's anything you've learned on your adventures, it's that every place has a secret underground passage, or you use this knowledge to find a hidden passageway or secret room in any building. I want to position Fortuna so that at the climactic moment of this seance, she can disappear.
Yes.
Okay. You found a secret tunnel. You did a little bit of snooping behind in the servants area, and you found a lower level of the building. It actually runs directly beneath a mosaic in the floor.
And this is a sort of rotating 180 track.
Yep, so she can
door.
plop down
Excellent.
at the straight up from the center of the room.
Perfection. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I have a surprising skill, which is along your adventures you've come across interesting people and cultures and have picked up some skills. You're proficient in unusual crafts or skills that never fail to impress or unnerve those around you.
Yep.
I picked 3.
Okay.
One of them is hypnosis.
Great.
And I would like to sort of give Fortuna a bit of a crash course in the kind of suggestion and the phrases and the movement to kind of really sort of,
Draw them in.
hone that craft beyond just imitating a seance, actually having a sort of mesmerizing effect.
Yeah.
And I think you could also have actively hypnotized 1 or 2 people as audience plants
position
to have
them- position
a
them in-
shocking outcry.
Yeah, there's a grandfather clock that's just swinging in the background or something.
Amazing. Cool. So the crowd, through your collective efforts, is primed to be on board with whatever is about to be happening. They're a bit drunk. They're a little bit entranced and in that very suggestive state that goes along with hypnosis.
So, crowd is ready and primed. The lights.
We're all having our drinks and pretending to be part of the party, and we see Fortuna move over towards Penny.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have Fortuna primed in the central location. We'll have Fortuna take Penelope and be like, I need to speak to you.
Yep.
And walk her into the center over the medallion. And the lights, as they sort of reach that, I'm watching, and the lights go dark.
Yep.
And then they flicker. And we have Davina scream at the top of her lungs.
Amazing.
And as the lights are going out, you two are stoking little smoke bombs, so there's a spooky
The candles,
glow.
why there's so many candles we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
blow
No,
some of
we just want it over the 40 minutes or so between this plan being decided
in.
on and happening. You and I just every 5 minutes will go into the other room and bring out one of the candles and just put it somewhere and just pretend, just very
This is
subtly,
fine.
just oh, how did that get there?
More.
And then gradually over the 40 minutes, there's just all the candles have made their way outside.
Yeah. So the lights go out, they flicker. Davina screams.
Yep.
It is dark. And Davina has Penelope
Yep.
by the hand,
Gripped onto her arm.
doing her eye roll back thing.
Yep. And she does the gasp from earlier. She's like, I need to speak with you all.
Is it Charles? Has he returned?
Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my god.
Dude.
Penelope's like, is it you, Charles? Are you back? And he's like, yes. I cannot find peace on the other side until I tell the truth.
Oh! The truth. The truth. The truth. What dark secrets are holding you to this earth?
I have claimed credit for the statue. That much is true. I cannot claim credit for the life's work that preceded it.
And then from the last one I can count, good heavens!
I say.
Yeah, just those, just repeat it at every revelation.
No, I love it. I cannot claim credit for the work that preceded it. It was Theodore Weatherwax.
Weatherwax, isn't that where Carmine's family, the Carmine family descends from? Just adding some flavor to really win Betty over.
Yep. It was he who spent years observing the moon and mapping its many rises and falls. It was he who earned the money creating the telescope and starting up that business. It was all him, but he he retired, he left it behind, and I was there to take over the business. I took the money. I burned all records of his name.
Oh. Fraud, I say.
It was I, and I am sorry. Shame on me, shame on my family.
No shame.
Shame on all wealth that comes to us in future. Shame and
Shame! Shame! And she falls through the floor.
At that moment, she lets go of Penelope and pushes her away, and like the lights crash back on. And in the moment where everyone like, Davina disappears.
Oh my God! Where did she go?
The spirits.
Spirits have taken her.
Penelope is left standing alone in the middle of a crowd of people who are now all muttering and talking about her. She looks over at Betty for help, but Betty is confused and just kind of shaking her head, and Betty turns to some of her other friends to talk instead of moving out to meet Penelope. So Penelope looks down and just walks out of the room as quickly as she can with her head held high. But
we're not good people, are we?
No, but I didn't expect us to do be. My character sheet literally says liar and fraud.
Yeah,
so
look,
there it is.
That's fair.
You have played your characters
Yeah.
well.
Well, we successfully ruined their whole shtick.
Now we just wait for Betty to come to us.
After
We might be the Minor Arcana, but we've got big plans.
After tonight, everyone's interest in the occult has skyrocketed. You have an influx of new members, including Betty. A couple of days later, stops by your social club's headquarters, and the offer you made earlier about helping her process her impending decline in wealth and impending death.
Which, for reasons that don't seem suspicious at all to me, are proven immediately false by the first seance that Esme runs.
Well, I think we don't even need to do that. Just being like, well, say what you will for Penelope. She was right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You interpret that, you reinterpret that tarot card reading as that was just an example of, that was just showing the revelation that was to come later in the night, which was the death and the loss of wealth, because Charles Alder stole her family's wealth way back when, as descendants of the Weatherwax.
Well, he did retire.
Basil Weatherline. something.
Weatherwax?
Basil Weather. Yep.
One of them.
Because, Charles had stolen her family's
Credit.
wealth and, credit at the mapping of the moon. So you have, and you don't really see Penelope at parties for a while.
Oops.
Scandals come and scandals go. And she was not culpable in any way. So once the next scandal comes along, she is able to reemerge into society. She just visits her family's holiday home for a while.
Goes to the seaside.
Yeah, until it blows over. But yeah.
Well,
Thus concludes the mystery of the coq de lune.
Thus falsely concludes the mystery
mystery of the coq de lune.
Thus
For our
wildly incorrectly concludes.
entirely personal game.
Yeah, now that the mystery is solved, next time you go past the Museum de Coq de Lune, it is staffed by people other than Doris and Donald, and they have gone off on the adventure that Doris was hoping for. While they're still young enough to do it.
Oh, to find the Sapphire Kingdom.
Yeah.
Empire?
One of them. Empire.
Municipality?
They moved to Madagascar.
They moved to
Work with
Madagascar.
the archaeological society that's run by the government there.
Thank you for playing Flabbergasted.
I was flabbergasted.
Yeah, good. It's been incredible to try out, and also amazing to try out some of the new archetypes available in the Mystified expansion live on Kickstarter. We got to try out the Occultist and the Explorer, both new characters to play.
And you can do it with far less like senility too, if you decide.
No, it's
Like that's not baked
There are
into
options.
the.
It's a strange requirement, but I just went with it.
Gotta be old.
You do not
fabulous,
have to be old.
fabulous to walk the line of are they a charlatan or not, and so many
Yeah.
things to place. Very, very fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, is there any like scene cues you want to highlight that you didn't use that like looked fun to you?
There was one I didn't use called speaking in tongues, which I was waiting for the right moment for, which makes someone just straight up agree with you for a lot of scandal.
Amazing. I think I used all of mine.
So thank you to Fleur and Chelsea and of the Wanderer's Tome for letting us try that out. And thank you all for watching. See you next time.
Bye. Was it possible to find out the actual truth of the
Did you
cockaloon?
even have a real one in
No.
mind? Yeah, amazing.
I
Okay,
have-
good. I'm comforted
You
by
just
that.
left us an opportunity for shameless blackmail and exploitation.
Manipulation.
Wonderful.
Donald had options. He has options.
I wish Doris did.
Oh, Doris.
She can do better.